Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalists. Stick around for this video if it's the first time you've found my channel. I'm going to be going through a couple things. First of all, what's happening right now in La Palma, the eruption of the volcano. Also, how this is very closely related to a very common problem that I see in general when it comes to survival and preparedness, especially in YouTube, where you have a mixture of things. People confuse entertainment with actual real information, especially some of the more popular channels that have great footage, great clips, great editing, and it's fun and it's entertaining to watch. Sometimes people confuse that with actual information. And many times you see that, man, it is lacking even in the most basic things. I've come across channels where people say, I'm not even planning on bugging out, man. I'm going to be staying, holding my ground. How the fuck do you hold your ground against a volcano? It's not just that. How do you hold your ground against a flood, a tsunami, a forest fire, a chemical accident, a nuclear war, foreign invasion, even civil war? You're going to be having your family shoot it out with the enemy. Is that your plan really? And this is the kind of thing I've seen so many times that it's just frustrating. But over the years, time and again, especially some of the bigger channels, I think they're going to be getting people killed eventually, especially as things get more complicated and situations escalate. And unfortunately, it's happening all over the world, and especially happening in the United States, where that bar, it's getting higher and higher. And if you just keep that low expectation as of what real preparedness you actually have in place, you may be paying for that with your life or the life of your loved ones. So this is very dramatic stuff, but it just goes to show that there's a huge difference between entertainment, having a good time, or being entertained by a little clip, or actually being prepared for this sort of crap. In my channel, that's what I try to do. That's what I've been doing for many years now with my books specifically. I have my second book is specifically bugging out and relocating, and it tells us what to do when staying is not an option. This is the kind of thing that these people don't understand. Oh, you're such a coward. I'm not bugging out. I'm going to be holding my ground. Yeah, you're going to be shooting what? Against lava? Against a tsunami? That's your plan? You're an idiot if you're planning on doing that. But there's people that do that. There's a guy that said, I don't even have a bug out bag because I have family. Like a quote from Fast and Furious. Dude, that is not how it works. And it's not I have such high expectations. At the very least, check with Red Cross or some of the government agencies like FEMA or ready.gov. It's most of the stuff that I explained in my previous video, putting together a basic emergency kit. That is it. If you didn't even bother doing that or understanding why those things may be necessary, then you have there's nothing for you to recommend to anyone. But people confuse. This is like watching Man vs. Wild and thinking, yeah, I'm super prepared for the end of the world. No, you're not prepared for anything. You're just being entertained by a reality TV show, but you have no damn idea of what real preparedness and survival is all about. It's about this sort of stuff. Sure, you have a number of different elements going on, but if you don't cover this, if you don't understand why it may be that you may have to evacuate where you are, you have no damn idea what you're doing. You may think you do, but you don't. You're watching yet another gun review in a prepper website, channel, whatever. But it really has nothing to do with doing this properly for real. These things happen, and as I was explaining before, it may be a number of different things. I mean, one of the things that happens most commonly is house fires. People lose every damn thing they own in house fires. There's been a very famous prepper or survival expert, one of these famous TV survival experts. Dude lost everything in a house fire. He had a log cabin and the thing burned down, which is completely normal, and most people understand that it happens every damn day. Why wouldn't it happen to you as well? So those are the kind of things you would think someone that's an expert in these sort of things would prepare for. But yet it just catches people by surprise. And same thing here. People living in an active volcano. And yes, in a place like this, people would definitely have, especially the government would have in place the procedures as to evacuate everyone and alert everyone and get everyone out of the. But people are living there. You see that house there, this house here. This house even has power. So these are things that, and I could talk about hours about the psychological aspect of just expecting bad things not to happen, even if you're living on a freaking volcano. But then all of a sudden it just turns to hell on earth, and you have just very little time to react. This is the stuff that I research for bugging out and relocating. Sometimes it's about seconds. Sometimes you have a few minutes. Sometimes you have a few hours, or a few days, months, or years, depending on what's going on. If it's like your country becoming a dictatorship, which a lot of people relate to quite a bit these days, especially in the United States, it may happen during a period of time, and it yet still catches you by surprise. It still catches you by surprise because the boiling frog or denial or whatever you want to call it, people just expect that it's not going to be getting that bad. This is the oldest story ever. I just expected it to get better. I didn't think it would get this bad, or it just keeps on happening. If you look at the floods in Central Europe, Germany, you saw houses floating around, being dragged by the current. Those people, I'm not going to be bugging out of my house because of water. Okay, dude, you're a fish. You're going to be surviving underwater? Of course not. All of this is very closely related to what I explained in the previous video. I explained how you would have these. You would have respirators, 3M, FFP3s, similar to an N100. Why? Well, because the Red Cross and FEMA says you should, and pretty much any other government agency around the world recommends something similar. And this is the kind of thing that you saw just very recently. I think it was a couple years ago during the forest fires in Australia. People were using these so as to be able to breathe. Now, you could step that a notch or two and go with something like this. I mean, I would definitely have something like this if I'm living in a place like that, by all means. I mean, I don't even live on top of a volcano, and they have enough gas mask for my entire family. So why is that? Well, because breathing is kind of a big deal. And if you don't have this, you're not going to be breathing in that for very long. Even, and you'd rather be lucky not to get caught by the boiling lava. But with something like this is not just a particle filter. It's going to be filtering those poisonous gases that will likely kill you. So, and yet keep in mind that you're not going to be replacing oxygen with this. Like the firefighters, they have an oxygen tank, because sometimes it's not even about filtrating. There's just no oxygen in the air. So keep that in mind as well. But if you're evacuating a place like that, you definitely want to have one of these babies, protecting your eyes as well. And same thing for a number of us, having your gloves in case. And when I explained in the previous video something that is not explained by Red Cross or FEMA, that you want to work around this in layers. You want to have your emergency kit or bug out bag, but you also want to have very important papers bag. Your tiny bag, this may be just one of these Fanny Packs. It may be just a Fanny Pack with your important papers, documents, passport, and all the cash you have. Why is that? Well, because if something like this goes on, and if someone is injured, you need to help someone that's having a panic attack or is injured or unconscious, and you cannot carry a big bug out bag or emergency bag, maybe you have to leave that behind. But this you may be able to take with you, and this is crucial because, as I say all the time, cash is maybe your most useful tool in the modern world. If you have something like this with your cash, with your documents, you know what, man? If that's all you get out of, that's probably gonna be enough. And your loved ones are definitely more important than any food, water, or spare clothes that you have in an emergency kit. So if you cannot carry something heavier, or maybe you're injured yourself and you just have compromised mobility and you only can take this with you, that's gonna be it. Now, if you have, as I explained in bugging out and relocating, if you have the time so as to load up a vehicle, let's say you live in a place like this, and there's evacuation being organized, and you can actually go with your vehicle for ferries or whatever, you're going to be having your car and whatever you can load up in your car. When this happens, your house will no longer exist. Even if you have your bug out location, it's going to be a damn parking lot after lava goes over it. You're going to be losing your well. You're going to be losing everything you've grown there over the years. You're going to be losing even the foundation will be done after lava is done with this place, right? It may just be blown out of the map, literally. So if you have things organized besides your emergency kit, if you ever moved, you know how long it takes. It may seem like minutes go by and it's actually hours. Unless you have all of this prepared in containers, like in Rubbermaids or some of these are plastic containers, and you have that organized, ready to go, then that's the only case in which you will be able to load up your vehicle. If you just start rushing around, looking in the closet, in your garage, and see what's it that you pick or not, you're not going to be making it in time, even if you have a couple hours to evacuate. So organizing stuff, it's crucial. And this idea that I'm not going to be bugging it out, you coward, I'm going to be fighting nature and fire and lava and water and Russia or China or the commies. Yeah, good luck with that, my friend. Look, I've dealt with this crap for years, and it's just, you know what? It's children. It's like arguing with children that never had to face anything hard in their lives, and they think that their own little bullshit is important and it's a good plan. It's not a good plan, and it only worked for you because you never had to deal with anything real, right? So as long as you've never been forced to deal with this sort of crap, then sure, whatever idiotic plan you have works perfectly well because there's nothing actually there as a real threat, right? And you know, the same goes for a number of different things. People that told me, I already bugged out because I'm no longer in the city. Yeah, because you're thinking that the golden horde and all this shit. So you're no longer in the city. You bugged out for what? For an economic collapse? Yeah, I wrote a book about that after actually going through a real economic collapse. This one, right, for you guys that have been in the channel for a while. And yeah, you know what? Not being in the city, it's really not that much of a preparedness plan for an economic collapse. Sure, and we talked with Matt about this, about not being in the blue hives and the political aspect, and how this really impacts your life for real in very serious and important ways. So you definitely want to do that. But the idea of just because I'm no longer here, I never have to worry. Look, there was this guy that evacuated to he bugged out. He was, I'm already living in my bug out location, so I don't have to bug out later on. And this guy was he moved to Oregon, in a homestead in Oregon. A couple years later, huge forest fire, burns everything. You know, dude, done. Same with this famous survival expert on TV, log house, burns everything down, done. These are things that you should have an idea that it could happen to you no matter where you are, right? If you have I'm not planning on bugging out, Fernando, because I have a homestead and I have a big garden that produces all the food I need. You're talking about something completely different. This is like, I'm driving Formula 1 cars, so I don't need socks. There's no link with one thing and the other. There's just no relationship. You're talking about things that are completely different. So even if you have a homestead and you grow your own food and you have a well, if all of a sudden it gets covered by lava, it's all lost. If Russia invades and you're in eastern Ukraine, it doesn't matter if you have a huge farm, you're going to be losing it nonetheless. If you live in one of these states in the United States and BLM decides they're going to be going after your ass and just destroying your livelihood and making life impossible for you until they either kill you or make you quit, then imagine what choices you have. And it may be the same thing for a guy living in South Africa. You know, one of the farmers in South Africa, how many of the thousands of those guys died trying to hold a position that was no longer possible, right? So you take this and you escalate things and you improve things depending on what you need. I talked about, something like this. If power goes down, you're going to be needing flashlights. You're going to be needing light. If there's no communications, you're going to be needing your little radios or something better than that. You're going to go with maybe a Baofeng like this one. It's GT3TP. It's an 8-watt radio, a lot better than this one. But having this is a lot better than having nothing at all. For the guys that think, oh, you're going to be needing a license for this, yes, the license is always only needed when you're using it in normal times. For emergencies, you don't need a license to use this. So know how to use it, and if there's an emergency, you will be able to communicate as long as you know how to use it and actually have it. Those two are very important. So folks, this is what real survival and preparedness is about. It may be something more dramatic, it may be something less so, but there's a huge difference between the fantasy stuff and real preparedness. See you in our next video, guys. Have an awesome day. Take care.